Sterling Holmes with Fansided, and everyone is getting ready to celebrate game day with friends and family. Three-time Super Bowl champ Mark Schlereth is here to tell you everything you'll need to host the ultimate party. Mark, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. It always starts, the big game day starts with a great TV. The LG OLED Evo C3. Immerse yourself in this extraordinary visual and auditory experience. Whether it's movies, gaming, sports, you feel like you're part of the action with LG OLED TVs. From 42 inches to 83 inches, LG OLED TVs simply are the best. LG.com for more information. Then you got to have great food. That's how the party starts. Sometimes the food's better than the game, for crying out loud. Everyone loves a snack board. My friends at Farm Rich make it easy. Mozzarella sticks, loaded potato skins, crispy dill pickles, breaded veggies, and a whole lot more in the freezer section of your local grocer. You can find out more at farmrich.com. Then you can spice up any party with ramen from our friends at Nissan Foods. Hey, heat up game day with the all-new hot and spicy Firewalk packets with chili pepper infused noodles, torched teriyaki chicken, screaming Szechuan beef. I'm telling you what, it's delicious. Prep and serve in about 5 minutes. Walmart and walmart.com for more information.
I'm not going to lie, Mark. I'm jealous. I think it's party at Mark's house for the big game, man.
Absolutely. No question about it.
In regards to winning in the playoffs, how much of it is experience? Because you won 3 Super Bowls. Let's be real now. You're as good an insight as anyone into this. Was it easier the second or third time around since you have been there before, or is that a little bit overblown?
I think for the most part, it's overblown. I mean, it's always nice to have people that have experience that you can lean on and can guide you that way. But it's really about execution, instead of experience. There's a different E word, execution, to me. If you go out and you execute like it's any other football game and you have that attention to detail, to me, I always say the team that basically settles in and realizes it's just a football game is the team that's going to execute at a higher level. And that really becomes the key factor in this thing to me. There's so much pomp and circumstance around the game all week. You're off site, you're at somebody else's facility, all that kind of stuff. It's settling in and just realizing it's another football game, which is easy for me to say. It's really hard to do. You've got to have a mature football team that really understands the importance of it and can be able to lock in and then go out and execute.
Well, let's stick with the most experienced team left, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, during the regular season, it was a little bit of a struggle for them. But as the playoffs have rolled around, Mahomes and the offense in general has really taken it up a notch. Just in general, what are your thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes having the floor set in the Mahomes era as a AFC championship game?
Yeah, you know what? It's incredible when you think about it, miraculous when you think about he's been a starter since 2018. He's been to 6 straight AFC championship games. Like, the guy is an absolute unicorn, and your ability to flip the switch and play your best football come playoff time is remarkable. We just tend to almost take it for granted because we've become so used to it that we kind of forget how miraculous this really is. They're a really good football team. Defensively, they're a good football team, and I think they have an ability to really disrupt you on the back end with their defensive backs, disrupt your passing game, and they've got enough pass rushers in Karlaftis and a guy like Chris Jones that can get after your quarterback. So they are a tough out. There's no question about it. Now, I do think Baltimore is a better overall football team, but hard to bet against Mahomes in these situations.
Yeah, for Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, they've had a lot of playoff experience, but not a lot of playoff success. This past game for them was a massive step in the notion that they cannot win in the playoffs. I think this is a completely different Ravens team. If you look at a lot of the more analytical numbers, this Ravens team is a juggernaut. What have you seen from them? For me, I thought Todd Monken might be the biggest difference OC-wise. Yeah. But what have you seen from the Ravens this season as far as them changing and getting better for the playoff run?
Well, I think 2 things. I think they dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. I think they're so fast and athletic, and they really do a great job of attacking your protections, basically simulated pressures and getting free runners at your quarterback. They do it better than anybody else. It feels like they're blitzing you all the time, but a lot of times it's a 4-man rush. It's 3 defensive linemen and a safety, or 3 defensive linemen and a cornerback, or something of that nature. So it's the simulated pressures. They do a great job of attacking your protection and going opposite where you can't pick it up. So they do a great job of that. And then their run game, all their run pass action, all their read zone stuff where their quarterback becomes part of their run game is exceptional. And I think where they've really grown is their quarterback, Lamar Jackson. When he extends a play and moves around in the pocket, he's not just looking to run. He's not just looking to use his athletic ability. He's looking to eviscerate you in the passing game. And that's what's kind of changed in Baltimore. And they've done a really good job, and they're a really solid football team. I think I think in the AFC, they're the best overall player for player football team in the AFC.
In the NFC, I think the most divisive talking point all season long has been Brock Purdy. It feels like people either think he is elite, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, or people think that he is just a guy. He's a bum. Mm-hmm. It's the team. He does nothing to elevate them. Where do you land on a guy like Brock Purdy, who might not jump off the screen as far as it's not Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson with the arms or the legs, but he consistently finds ways to get it done?
Yeah, I think he's an incredible player. And when you walk through the film and you really study him, and, I asked him that, are you like game manager? You hear that. What do you say? How do you respond to that when I was doing a game in San Francisco? And he said, anybody who calls me a game manager doesn't actually watch film. And he goes, I've got some gunslinger in me. And he's not braggadocious. He's just stating facts. And I think the thing about him, just foot energy. In the West Coast offense, they always say you throw the ball with your feet, meaning your feet set you up. Your feet are basically hold the rhythm of the offense within your feet. And he is on time consistently and on target consistently. And it's because he's so good in the pocket. The other thing he does a great job of is pre-snap kind of deciding what they're in, post-snap confirming what they're in, and he will get off the front side in a heartbeat. I've watched him get through the fourth guy, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the backside, watch him get through the fourth guy in his progression in under a second and a half and deliver a touchdown throw to McCaffrey. He's incredible that way. So I think he's legit. I think they're a really good football team, and I think they're the best football team in the NFC. But I think Brock Purdy is a big-time playmaker and a big-time player. Didn't really play very well, neither did their defense last week against Green Bay, which I think bodes well for them because they'll clean up those things that they did not do well last week.
Yeah, and then Dan Campbell is obviously a fairly unique head coach right there for the Lions. But let's be real now, the results speak for themselves in regards to this rebuild since he got there. I would love to hear your thoughts on Dan Campbell, and would you have liked playing for him as a head coach?
I love Dan Campbell. I absolutely love him. I think he's incredible. One thing that everybody says when they take over an organization is we've got to change the culture. Easy to say, hard to do. Dan Campbell is totally authentic. And I think one of the big things he brings is his relational ability. And I always say this, whether it's football or television or radio or whatever you do for a living, we're all in the relationship business. And if you're not in that business, you're going out of business. Dan Campbell develops a relationship with his coaches, with his players, with the support staff in Detroit. You walk into that building, there's an energy in that building. There's an excitement in that building. People want to be in that building. People want to show up early and leave late. That's how it is. And Dan is the guy who has changed that culture in Detroit. And I couldn't be happier for him, man. I'd love to play for Dan Campbell.
I want to point and look back at your career for a moment here. Something that I think the general population might not understand about what football players go through, not just during the season, but in the off season. You were obviously known for going through a ton of surgeries. One, how does that affect you just as a player? And then two, as far as the general population goes, how common are these general cleanups, these offseason major surgeries? Because even here in Kansas City, sometimes you find out postseason guys were playing through and even got cleanups that we had no idea about.
Yeah, it's pretty common. Anytime you get done with a football season, you'll show up the day after the season's over, and they'll line up like 10, 12 guys and be like, hey, you're at 6, you be there at 6:15, you be there at 6:30, you be there at 6:45, and you're rolling through a surgery center, and you're all laying in the recovery room. There'll be 6 of you, and they're going, hey, how's it going? So that's just kind of how the season goes. And they always say, hey, you got to play hurt, you can't play injured. And I'm like, baloney. You got to play hurt, but you got to play injured. And more importantly, and this is really what I prided myself on, I'm going to play great, both hurt and injured. And there's a mentality there. And most guys, if you want to last in the National Football League and you want to play for a long time, you've got to be willing to play injured and play hurt. And more importantly, got to play well in those situations. So, yeah, guys put themselves through the ringer. Not everybody can do it. And it's not for everybody. I understand that. But it's really what sets it apart. And I'm unapologetic for the NFL. I'm unapologetic for the injuries and the things that we put ourselves through because that's what makes it special, and that's why not everybody can play it.
I also want to point out the offensive line of a lot of these teams that are left in the playoffs. They're elite. They're great, yet they don't get the recognition they deserve. Again, here in Kansas City, I think Chiefs fans have a special understanding of offensive lines, of great offensive lines going back to the early 2000s with Willie Rove, Brian Waters, Will Shields. But when you look at building a team right now, this seems to be a great building block, an indicator of great success, yet why don't they get the love they deserve? I'm here, Mark, saying we need to have a fantasy football offensive line league. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100% on that. Because you just do your job. And, nobody really, like we always joke around, even when I was playing, that we're like part of the secret mushroom society. And the only people who know what we're doing is us. Even a lot of the coaches don't really understand what we're doing. So we speak a special language, and most guys don't want the notoriety. They just want to go about their business. So, but it's really cool. It's a really cool position because five guys have to become one in order for you to be good. You can have five individuals playing it. And I always say, hey, listen, we can all be doing the wrong thing. As long as we're all doing the wrong thing together, the play is going to work out. It's when two guys are doing one thing and one guy's doing another thing and another two guys are doing another thing. That's when, pandemonium breaks out. So I always, I just think about it from the standpoint if like receivers have become so, it's just so important and such a big, such a big kind of fancy position and exciting position. But, 10 other guys have to do their job for a receiver to snip the ball. And so my thought process is, it takes the whole team to be great. And offensive line is obviously, to me, the biggest part of that.
Final question here for you, Mark. Thoughts on Jim Harbaugh as he goes to the Chargers? This was a big domino in the head coaching vacancy to fall. Obviously, great success at Michigan, had success in the NFL. Is there going to be a lot of pressure on him? I mean, the Chargers went 5-12, and now it seems like everyone's thrilled they got their guy, but this is a lot of pressure on a head coach.
Yeah, no question. But I think one thing about Jim Harbaugh, everywhere he's been, he's had great quarterback play, helped develop great quarterback play. And I remember him taking over in San Francisco. Alex Smith was considered a bust. And I had talked to him. And he said, hey, man, I love Alex Smith. And sure enough, Alex Smith plays great. Then he gets hurt, and in comes Colin Kaepernick. And Colin Kaepernick takes him to a Super Bowl. And he had a guy like Andrew Luck having great success and being the first overall draft pick out of Stanford into Indianapolis. So everywhere he has gone, his quarterbacks have played well. So I think that's really the allure of him being with the Chargers and taking over and coaching up Herbert. So I think it's a great fit, obviously, and Jim's been great everywhere he's gone.
Yeah. Three-time Super Bowl champion and a man who throws the absolute best parties out there, Mark Schlereth. Mark, really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care.